Good afternoon, everyone. It's Cal Gould again here with another round of interviews on the history of ball hockey. Here we have an individual that's been involved in the sport for quite a few years. He was in the early days. So let's find out who we're speaking with. What is your name and where are you from?
My name is Bruce Ennis, and I'm from Edmonton, Alberta.
Let me ask you, Bruce, in your younger years, what is your earliest memories of playing some kind of street hockey or unorganized ball hockey? What do you remember in your youth?
I grew up in a middle class, probably lower to middle class neighborhood where there wasn't a lot of money and a lot of kids loved hockey but couldn't afford to play. And we watched Hockey Night in Canada every Saturday night. This is going back to about age 5 or 6. And then during the second intermission, I phoned the 7 or 8 kids in the neighborhood, and one kid would be in charge of bringing a net. Another kid would bring a net, or if we didn't have a net, a couple of toques for nets. And we would play hockey from about when Hockey Night in Canada ended, from about 8:30 literally till midnight. My mom was nice, would let us stay up. I recall freezing our feet and our hands an hour in, but we loved the sport so much. We waited until we couldn't feel our hands or toes. And then we would come in literally about midnight, even though that was probably when I was 9 or 10 years old. Mom would let us stay up till midnight. You would play with the light of the moon reflecting off of the snow. And then you'd come in and you would sit by the back landing and thaw your feet and your hands and hit your head because you were unthawing, and Mom would make us hot chocolate, and then you'd go to bed. And we did that every Saturday till I was probably 18 years, until they built West Edmonton Mall, and we used to use West Edmonton Mall to parking lot to play. So that would be my beginnings.
Did you play any other organized sports other than ball hockey before you played ball hockey?
Yeah, I played soccer. That was the only sport my mom could afford to put me in, because you just had to buy some shoes at Woolco, and cost about $15 a year. And so I played soccer growing up, but I really loved ball hockey. And we played it pretty much year round. Usually by about July, that first day in summer when it got to about 30 degrees, we would go, okay, it's time to start playing soccer or football. But we would play ball hockey on the street from about October until maybe May every year.
How did you join the ball hockey league that you first played in? And by that, what I mean is, did you join with a bunch of friends? Did you get invited? Did you answer a newspaper ad? How exactly did you get involved in the league?
It's kind of funny. I had jock friends in high school, very athletic friends, but then I also had kind of burnout party friends. And one of my burnout party friends said, we should play ball hockey at the Kinsmen Field House. I had no idea what this was. I knew I played a lot of ball hockey, and I went there, and Eddie Keane from 630 Ched was one of the referees. And I played with these, I would have to say it was like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It was kind of a group of stoners, and they were not real accomplished athletes. But I remember thinking I really loved this sport. I was the one guy that was probably somewhat athletic around a bunch of guys that were more interested in smoking a joint, and so I got introduced to the sport by people that really weren't even passionate about hockey, but that fueled my love for ball hockey.
And how old were you with that first season that you played? And the players that you were playing with, were they the same age, older, younger? What was the age categories?
Some of them were like 19, 20. They had cars and I didn't. I'm going to say I was 15. So I'm going to say it was probably about 1977. And they would pick me up in a car and drive down to the Kinsmen Field House. There was an outdoor hockey rink there. And more often than not, Eddie Keane was the referee. That's one of my memories. But I think that has to be pretty close to the beginnings of ball hockey in Edmonton.
Thank you very much for that timeline. That helps me understand exactly what era that was that we were in, that you were playing in. So with that being said, do you remember any of the team names that you played on in those early years?
Man, in the real early years, here's some names, and it might not have been with the outdoor Eddie Keane ball hockey, but around 1980, here's some names I remember. The Rink Rats, bunch of dirty guys. They probably say the same. Our team, the Vandals, the Rink Rats, the Southside Saints. We had a bench clearing brawl at Donnan Arena that the police ended up coming to, and that was with the Southside Saints. And then I think in the other league there was the Playboys and the Nordiques and things like that. But yeah, there was quite a few. It'll come back to me. I could probably think of more, but those are the first few ones that come to my mind.
In comparison to other organized sports that you played, what's your impression of the way the ball hockey organization was that you were involved with? What was your impression of how it was run in comparison to other sports?
I thought it was run really well. There wasn't a lot of money. It didn't have the budget of, Hockey Canada or anything like that. And I think it was a league full of people like me that absolutely loved the sport. It was so fun. Everyone you talk to in ball hockey, the ones that played multiple sports would always say ball hockey is the most enjoyable. So I thought it was run really well. In the later years, I met Steve Posovic and yourself. And I was in awe of how many hours you guys you sacrificed to growing the game. And there was a couple of other people too. Actually, the London family, Guy and Donna, Shirley London. There's lots of people that gave a lot of hours to supporting the league.
Were you involved in the sport in any other way, such as a referee or a coach or manager, anything along that line?
No, I only played ball hockey. I played for the Vandals for 7 or 8 years. And then I was approached by a couple of Nordique hockey players to see if I wanted to play for them. And they were a team that would go to the Nationals pretty regularly. And so I thought, I'll maybe do that. And that was right around the time that I met my wife. And shortly after that, I had 2 young kids. So I didn't really have the opportunity to get involved in a coaching capacity. I became a dad pretty much in the middle of me in my ball hockey years. And then I was very tied up with my kids.
There are numerous levels of ball hockey play. Some of it is referred to as Tier 1, Tier 2, or Men's A, Men's B, and C. What was the highest level that you played at?
I played Tier 1, and I think I played Tier 1 every year. Pretty sure every year. I think when we started the Vandals, actually, I came up with that name, the Vandals, and the symbol that we had was the Iron Maiden symbol, and I went to a silk screen shop and said, "Can you replace the bloody hatchet with a bloody hockey stick?" That was I think we started when I started that team. They put us in Division 2 or 3 for a very short period of time, and then we started winning. And I think we were in Division 1 by the end of that year. So, Cal, I would say, I think it was pretty much my entire time of playing ball hockey would have been the Division 1.
You aren't going to believe this, but just last night I was interviewing a player on another team, and he wanted to know where the name Vandals came up from. He had a theory, and his idea was that it had to be something to do with history, because they came up with the name Emperors, and they found it, odd that the Emperors and the Vandals would play each other, and they were maybe a historical reference to the invaders of the in the Roman times.
Yeah, so Cal, I read a lot, and I'm kind of a little bit of a history buff. So your friend is right. So this would have been the 1970s when I was playing that ball hockey in the outdoor league. I always thought a really cool name was in college football, the University of Idaho Vandals. And I was a real rebellious kid when I was younger. I was kind of angry, and I'm not like that anymore. But when I was a young kid, a lot of teenagers are like that. And when I looked up the definition of vandal in the Webster's dictionary, it said someone who destroys and pillages for no apparent reason. And I thought, oh, that sounds badass. That's so badass. And so I had in my head, if I ever started any sports team, it's going to be called the Vandals. And the day that the Vandals were formed, my good friend, I was his best man at my wedding, Gerard Small, and Vic Benz. And there was a few of us West End kids that said, "Hey, let's join the league." And they all thought that was a cool name. And I drove down to a silk screen shop on the south side and said, "Can you make this?" I have more of an artistic side than I thought, but I thought I love that Iron Maiden album cover, Eddie, the symbol. And so that's how it came to be. The Vandals was me liking the University of Idaho Vandal football team name. And that's how we came to be. Oh, and then the colors, I always thought the Minnesota North Stars had kind of cool jerseys, and that's the evolution of the Vandals.
Playing any provincial or national tournaments anywhere?
Yeah, I did. When I was with the Vandals, the furthest we went, I believe we finished third in Alberta, which we were very proud of, because when you played against teams like the Nordiques and the Playboys, you often found there was more NCAA. There'd be college hockey players, and the Vandals were just neighborhood kids that played street hockey. We didn't have any high-end ice hockey players, and I believe we finished third at Jasper Place Arena, and I'm going to say it was 1986 would be my guess. Would be 87. Yeah, 1987. And we, I think, finished third to, I think it was the Nordiques, and maybe we might even have beaten the Playboys, who were a very good team. Malcolm and Doug McCarthy. They had a really good team, and I think we might have beaten them, but we were very proud of ourselves. I knew that we would never I knew the Vandals would never likely have the talent to go to the Nationals. And I was loyal, and I loved the Vandals. It's the team I started. But when the Nordiques were approaching me about joining their team, I thought, I'm getting married here right away. I'm going to give it a shot. It would be so cool to play in the Nationals. And then once I joined the Nordiques, I think I played in we played in one in British Columbia, and maybe, I can't remember if the one in Calgary was a Nationals or just a provincials, but I did play. I think I played in 2 Nationals, Cal. I don't totally remember that. That was around the time when I did have kids, and I was towing my kids along, and so my details might be a little fragmented.
Now, do you have any particular favorite memories of playing ball hockey, both as an individual and as a team? In other words, something that stands out in your memories.
I would say, it's going to sound hokey, but the friendships, just the richness of friends. I'm a 60-year-old old man now, and I still hear from some of my ball hockey friends. And as recently as a couple weeks ago, a guy that I went to war with, playing with the Vandals, who lives in Prince George, British Columbia now, and we reconnected, and he started telling me stories. And so yeah, I would say my strongest memory is just great friendships. And there's some absolutely ridiculous things I remember. A couple of crazy brawls, lots of nice goals, but everybody scored lots of nice goals. So I would just say that brawl that we had with the Southside Saints, when Gerard Small's wife from Ireland was kicking one of the Southside Saints who was punching me. So those are kind of the enduring memories. It's just the ridiculous things that happened. I remember someone from, I think it was the Rink Rats, picking a fight with Jeff Funtaz, who was a cop that could probably bench press a Volkswagen. And I remember thinking, you don't want to pick a fight with him. And it was pretty ugly. But I remember thinking, this guy must have a death wish, because why would you pick a fight with a guy that looks like a human pit bull? And it was right in front of me, right. I was on the bench and watching it and going, oh, I think I'm going to jump in and save the guy on the other team. So that's a memory that comes to mind. I met my wife. Well, I didn't meet my wife at ball hockey, but my wife is from Ireland, and she has so many friends now, and a lot of them she met at ball hockey. Steve Hunter's wife became a best friend. Henry Tessier's wife became one of Diane's best friends. Diane still sees her to this day. So I would say just the friendships and the memories.
I like those stories that you shared there. They're certainly not symbolic of all the events that take place in ball hockey, but if there's ever anything that stands out, some of the brawls that took place are pretty easy to remember. Now, yeah. Are you still involved in ball hockey in any way, or do you expect to be involved?
Well, my 2 kids played it, and I helped, and my wife actually even played it. It was kind of funny. They formed a team, and a play on our team. We were the Vandals, and they called themselves the Vandals with DOLLS. and I helped out for one or two games. And my kids are both big fans of playing ball hockey. So I'm kind of connected to the game when I go to watch them play. But no, I haven't. I had a major back surgery. I've got rods and screws in my back now, and I stopped playing ice hockey just a year or so ago because I'm pain free right now, and I kind of don't want to crash into the boards anymore. So I feel really good, but I think my days of playing a fast sport where I could crash hard are probably over.
Now, that led right into my next question as to, do you have any family members that played ball hockey? So you said your wife played for a little while and your sons played. To what level how long did they play, or who were they involved with, etc.?
So my two boys are Jordan and Tyler. They're in their 30s now. And one's an electrician and the other one played in the NHL. And he's actually over in Europe now. And they played on a team called the Avalanche. Oops. Are you still there, Cal? They played on the Avalanche, and Peter Small and Brian Devlin were the head coaches, and they won the Nationals, and I think they might have won it a couple times. They might be the most skilled team I've ever seen in ball hockey. It was crazy. There was Jared Spurgeon, the captain of the Minnesota Wild, and Tyler, my son. And I think Theo Peckham might have been on that team for a little while. And a lot of guys that played NCAA and Western Hockey League. I think they were more talent laden than the Nordiques and the Playboys even. And the scores reflected that. I believe they won the Nationals. And I think in one of the final games in Prince Edward Island, they won like 10-1 or something. So they ended up playing at a very high level. I would almost call them the Nordiques of the 2010s, because the Nordiques were a powerhouse team, and they were kind of like that.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to play the sport of ball hockey?
I would say my advice: play it. It's so much fun. It's affordable, and it's actually it's probably more enjoyable than ice hockey. It seems to be a lot less political. There's less parents involved, and as far in a negative way. And there's lots of parents involved, but there isn't that ugly side that you see more frequently in ice hockey. It's an amazing sport for conditioning. It's awesome. I would say it's the most enjoyable. I like playing lots of sports, and I think ball hockey is the funnest. I always say it's like Harlem Globetrotter ice hockey. You dangle and dance, and you flip the ball up in the air, and you put it between your legs, and you can do a lot of things with the ball. It's probably easier to do that kind of stuff than it is in ice hockey.
What do you feel made the greatest impact on the sport of ball hockey, whether it was in growth or in stature or anything? What do you think made the greatest impact?
That's a good question. Maybe when pros get involved. I know when I was younger, Zarly Zalapsky was a solid NHLer, and he played. Ray Whitney played with the team I was on, the Nordiques, for a while. And I think that brought a heightened attention. I know later on, near the end of my playing days, Martin Gelinas played. When an NHLer played, it seemed to really elevate or legitimize the sport. And then my son ended up playing for 13 years in the NHL, and I hear it firsthand from my own son's testimony that it's a great sport. It's so much fun. I could see him when he's finished playing. He's in Europe this year. I could see him resuming playing ball hockey when he's done. So yeah, I think that would be the greatest commercial for ball hockey is when the NHLers play it and they love it.
It's a good concept there. I like that. Is there a person, if they were here right now, that you would want to thank personally for getting you involved in the sport of ball hockey?
Sounds weird, but the question's not weird, but it's going to sound weird. I would say Eddie Keane, because when I was a young kid, I was a punk ass kid that thought 6:30 Ched was for old people, and I think I was angry at the world, and I ended up going to Kinsmen Field House and had the time of my life. And there was this bald guy from 6:30 Ched that was giving his time for nothing, and he would seem to be there all day. So probably I would thank Eddie Keane, and I don't even know if Eddie Keane's still alive.
You know, now ball hockey has really reached an extensive level, not just of the quality and the skill of play, but in the extent that it has gone around the globe. There's now the International Street and Ball Hockey Federation that's been formed for 25 or more years, and the first the first World Championships were in 1996. They now run a biannual championship for men's, and then they run a biannual for under 17, etc. And they have all levels of play: men's A, women's A, men's masters. So with that being said, what do you see or hope to see for the future of ball hockey?
My kids absolutely love it. And, you know, it's a good testament to ball hockey is that I've got a kid that's played it at the highest level and another one that's an electrician, and they love the sport equally. Ball hockey is not just for accomplished high level Division I, you know, NCAA hockey players. Both of my children absolutely love ball hockey, and they are on different ends of the skill level spectrum. And that's the way it should be. If whether you like badminton or ball hockey or any sport, it shouldn't only be fun if you're at the top level. Whether you're Division I or Division 20, it should be inclusive for everybody, and it is. Ball hockey is the favorite sport of pretty much everyone in our family.
I think you reverberated the exact words of Steve Posovic when he came up with that logo for the league. He put an overweight bear on the cover there, and we asked him, like, why do you put this big bear that looks overweight playing it? He goes, because anybody should be able to play it. Anybody. Yeah. He goes, doesn't matter what age, what size, what skill, just anybody should be able to play it and have fun. So you literally have, in exact words, carried over what I believe is a good thing to have, a good attitude to have.
100%. Both kids love it, and they're you know, one's a tradesman that goes to work every day, and the other one plays hockey for a living, and they both love it. My wife never played hockey growing up in Ireland, and she loved it. So there's just there's something amazing about it, and it is for everybody.
Is there anything you would like to add that I never asked you any questions about? Anything that comes to mind that maybe anything you remember suddenly?
No, just when you phoned me and started saying names, I just had a big smile come across my face. It's all these names I haven't thought of in a long time, but just great memories. A lot of admiration for the skill level of a lot of people you mentioned. So many talented guys. So no, I could ramble for hours and bore you. But yeah, if you mention a name, I could probably say something funny or something silly about, you know, a moment with that person. But no one thing comes to mind.
Thank you for your time, Bruce. I appreciate it. You've given a great perspective on the sport and a lot of history. You shared with me a lot of history to an era of the mid 70s that most people were not involved with the sport at all. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Cal, and I really appreciate what you are doing. I think it's awesome that we're capturing these great memories, and they'll be there for maybe my kids when I'm not here anymore.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great day.